Growing up as the daughter of an extraordinarily wealthy businessman came with privileges most people only dreamed about, but it also came with traditions that made me question whether wealth always brought wisdom. My father had built an empire from the ground up and believed that every person had a price. According to him, character only revealed itself when temptation appeared unexpectedly. His favorite way of proving this theory was both simple and unsettling. Whenever I introduced him to someone I was dating, he would quietly leave a luxury watch worth nearly $60,000 on the bathroom counter before my guest arrived. Then he would wait to see whether it disappeared. I hated the entire ritual. My father insisted it wasn't about the watch itself. He claimed it was an investment in my future, arguing that a dishonest person would eventually cost me far more than an expensive timepiece ever could. My mother never approved, but after decades of marriage she had learned there were certain arguments she could never win. Over the years, I watched several relationships end before they had the chance to become serious. Some men noticed the watch and immediately returned it, assuming it had been forgotten. Others ignored it completely. A few admitted later that they had considered taking it but decided against it. Then there were those who quietly slipped it into a pocket, believing no one would ever know. Hidden cameras around the hallway always revealed the truth. Every time my father would shake his head with quiet satisfaction and tell me he had saved me from making a terrible mistake. I wasn't always convinced. While theft certainly revealed poor judgment, I couldn't help feeling uncomfortable that trust was being measured through carefully designed traps instead of genuine experience. Eventually I met Daniel. Unlike many people who entered my life, Daniel never seemed impressed by my family's wealth. He treated our mansion as though it were simply another house and spoke to the staff with the same respect he showed everyone else. He worked as an architect, loved restoring old buildings, and spent more time discussing books and travel than expensive cars or investment opportunities. Being around him felt refreshingly normal. When I finally told my father I wanted him to meet Daniel, I knew exactly what was coming. The watch appeared on the bathroom counter before dinner, gleaming beneath the soft lighting exactly where every previous guest would notice it. I considered warning Daniel beforehand but decided against it. If I interfered, my father would only argue that the test had become meaningless. Dinner went surprisingly well. My father asked difficult questions about business, finances, ambition, and long-term goals. Daniel answered calmly without trying to impress anyone. Even when my father subtly mentioned the size of our family fortune, Daniel simply smiled and changed the conversation to architecture. It almost seemed as though money genuinely held little interest for him. Halfway through the evening, Daniel excused himself to use the restroom. I watched my father's expression carefully. Minutes later, Daniel returned carrying something in his hand, the watch. He walked directly toward my father and placed it gently beside his plate. "I think this belongs to you," he said. It was sitting near the sink. I wasn't sure if you'd forgotten it or if someone else might accidentally walk away with it. For the first time in years, my father looked almost disappointed that nothing dramatic had happened. Then Daniel surprised all of us. He smiled politely before adding, "Although I have to admit something." The room became completely silent. When I saw it, he continued, "I recognized it immediately. It's a beautiful watch. But what actually caught my attention wasn't the price. It was the fact that someone would leave something this valuable unattended. It almost felt intentional." My father's eyebrows slowly lifted. Daniel continued speaking in a calm, respectful tone. "I don't know if I'm right, but I wondered whether this was some kind of character test." No one spoke. Finally my father asked, "And if it was?" Daniel leaned back comfortably. "Then I think it's testing the wrong thing." The words hung in the air. He explained that honesty wasn't proven by creating artificial situations designed to tempt people. Most decent individuals wouldn't steal because of their values, not because they feared being caught. At the same time, truly trustworthy relationships couldn't be built through suspicion. If every introduction began with a hidden examination, then trust had already been replaced by doubt before anyone had the opportunity to earn it naturally. I glanced at my father, expecting irritation. Instead, he listened quietly. Daniel continued by saying that he completely understood a father's desire to protect his daughter. He respected that instinct more than anything. But he believed the better way to judge someone's character was through consistency over time. How they treated waiters, how they handled disappointment, whether they kept promises when nobody was watching, and whether they remained kind during stressful moments. Those qualities couldn't be measured with an expensive watch on a bathroom counter. For several long seconds, my father didn't respond. Then something happened that I had never witnessed before. He laughed, not a forced laugh or a sarcastic one, but genuine laughter that filled the dining room. You know, he admitted, you're the first person who figured it out. Daniel smiled. And you're also the first one who had the courage to tell me the test itself might be flawed. That evening lasted several more hours. They talked about business, ethics, family, and responsibility long after dinner had ended. For the first time, my father wasn't interviewing one of my boyfriends. He was simply having a conversation. Months later, I asked my father whether he planned to continue his famous watch experiment. He quietly shook his head. No, he replied. I think I've finally learned that integrity isn't something you discover by laying a trap. It's something you recognize after watching how a person chooses to live. The expensive watch still sat safely inside his collection, but it never appeared on another bathroom counter again. Ironically, the man who passed the test didn't do so because he ignored temptation. He succeeded because he challenged the very idea that genuine trust could ever begin with suspicion. In doing so, he changed not only my father's opinion of him but also a family tradition that had lasted for decades.